Daughters' property rights, a key to gender equality. Gender equality in property rights can play an important role in a society that treats daughters as less than sons, where parents often prefer to spend more on a daughter's wedding than her education. India's Supreme Court's recent upholding of the Hindu Succession Act, 1956, has brought attention to the law's differing treatment of men's and women's inheritance rights. Under the current framework, when an issueless married Hindu woman dies intestate, her properties pass to her husband's heirs, rather than her own parents or blood relatives. This includes her self-acquired property. The law assumes that women only inherit wealth and are not wealth creators. This law reinforces the unequal treatment of daughters. Parents often do not treat daughters' wealth as adding to family wealth. She is often not given the same education and treatment as a son.
One important judgment in this relates to Narayani Devi, who got married and moved into her matrimonial home. Her husband died within 3 months of marriage. The marital family banished Narayani Devi from the matrimonial home. She returned to her parents, who supported her and provided her an education in the succeeding years. So equipped, Narayani Devi, over 40 years, gradually amassed substantial property. She died childless, the sole owner of various bank accounts, provident funds and land. Her mother claimed the right to inherit her property, but the claim was challenged by the brothers of Narayani's late husband. The Supreme Court of India relied upon provisions of the Hindu Succession Act to grant all her properties to her late husband's nephews, while her mother was thrown out of the house she had lived in with her daughter.
This injustice would not have occurred if the gender roles were reversed. The property would have remained within her family if Narayani Devi were a man. In fact, the property would have remained within her family even if she were a practicing Christian, Parsi or Jew, under the Indian Succession Act, 1925, or a resident in the state of Goa under the Goa Succession Act.
The provisions of the Hindu Succession Act are fundamentally rooted in traditional assumptions about the Hindu joint family system and women's role in society. The law attempts to preserve property within the husband's family. The heirs of husband, who have a right over the property, could be far away from the husband's immediate family as brother's son, sister's daughter and so on. This approach is based on two key assumptions. First, that the primarily land-based rural joint family remains the primary unit of Hindu social organization, and second, that Hindu women lack the capacity to acquire and manage property independently. However, contemporary data reveals how outdated these assumptions have become. More than a third of India's population lives in urban areas. The average family size in India has shrunk to about 5.
In nuclear urban families, new realities have emerged where modern working women derive their wealth from their own professional work. Financial inclusion has improved, with 53% of women maintaining bank accounts. Women's entrepreneurship has grown significantly, with female ownership of over 8 million proprietary establishments. The number of women taxpayers has been steadily increasing, with 22.9 million women filing income tax returns. The two-child norm has led to about 10% households with only daughters whom parents can depend on for their old age. A survey revealed that 16% parents plan to live with their daughters in their old age.
When society changes, laws also need to recognize that and change. At the same time, laws nudge societal changes. There have been many legislative changes such as for dowry, feticide and inheritance. As inheritors of property, daughters are now required to look after their parents in their old age by law. The law must recognize that married Hindu women no longer merely inherit property from their father or husband. In today's India, they are wealth creators as doctors, engineers, lawyers, entrepreneurs, civil servants and much more. A woman's property that is not inherited from her husband's family must be inherited by her blood relatives, as for men.
Legal concerns about provisions in the Hindu Succession Act, Section 15, extend beyond the impact on mindsets. It has been argued that it potentially violates provisions in the Indian Constitution that guarantee equality and conflicts with India's commitments under the UN Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, where India has signed on making all laws gender neutral.
For daughters to be treated as equal to sons, the law must treat them equally. Even though daughters can inherit property and look after her parents, people will not treat them the same, educate them equally, as long as the daughter's property is going to be treated as belonging to her husband's family. while a son's is one's own. If a son does not need to register a will for his property to go to his blood relatives, why should a daughter? Parliament must rewrite Section 15 of the Hindu Succession Act.